Hello, and welcome to the final video presentation for the Seminar in Music History. In this video presentation, there will be a PowerPoint that goes along with this. If you'd like to follow along with the PowerPoint, please let me know and I'll get that to you. For my final presentation, I will be covering Beethoven's String Quartet number 14, Opus 131. To start off with, I'm going to talk just a little bit about Beethoven's life. Beethoven was born in 1770, and he was born in Bonn, an electorate of Cologne, which was held by the Holy Roman Empire. He passed away in 1827 in Vienna, which was held by the Austrian Empire. Throughout his life, he went through a lot of tough moments, perhaps even tragic moments, we could say. He went through his mother passing away at an early age, along with his sister passed away later on, and he had to take in his nephew like his own, and he raised his nephew. He also went deaf in the middle of his life, and he also had a lot of relationships and love affairs that did not end very well. He did work with many great composers. Some of those are Mozart, Haydn, Neef, Salieri, and Albrechtsberger. I apologize if I have mistaken any of the pronunciations there. Throughout his life, he went through three different periods of compositional writing, and we're going to call these the early period, the middle period, and the late period. The early period was the start of his compositional career, and this went up to about 1800. The middle period would be from about 1800 to 1816, and in this time span, this was when he went deaf. And then the late period is from about 1818 to his death in 1827. A short analysis of the string quartet. It was written in C sharp minor. There are 7 movements that are written within this piece, and each of these movements has a different form within them, or at least most of them do. For example, the first movement was written as a fugue, and then the second movement is a sonata allegro. The third movement, theme and variations. We're going to skip to the fifth, and that one was written as a scherzo, and you can think of that as either a form, or the scherzo is also considered as a dance. And then we're going to go to the 7th movement, and that one, it could either be thought of as rondo form or sonata allegro form. Lastly, this piece was written for 4-stringed instruments, hence the name string quartet. It was written for 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. There is no bass in this piece. Some historical information on the piece. It is written in the late period of Beethoven's career. It was written around 1825 excuse me, and was first performed in 1826. It was not publicized until 1827 in Mainz, and 1827, if we remember, that was the year that Beethoven passed away. This piece was dedicated to a man whose name is Joseph von Stutterheim, and he is a lieutenant field marshal. And what's so unique about him and why this piece was dedicated was Joseph, he accepted Beethoven's nephew, whose name is Karl. He accepted Karl into the Archduke Ludwig regiment at Iglau, and so he basically took in Beethoven's nephew and let Karl enlist into the military. So Beethoven dedicated this piece to Joseph von Sturheim for this reason. In the opening, the first part of this, which is the fugue, it has a very mournful, sad, emotional sound to it, which you wouldn't think of with it being dedicated to a military personnel. You would think more of, like a march, or at least something more upbeat. But this was also written in the late years of Beethoven's life. This was written 2 years before Beethoven passed away. And so many theorists, historians believe that uh, this this part, at least here, has to do with the stage of his life that he is at, and with everything that he has gone through in his life, all the tragedies and heartbreaking moments, that this has something to do with it. He's unhappy, and you know he's trying to express it into the music. When he first started writing in the early period, he wrote more in the classical style. But later on in his life, he started to put more emotion into it, and we're getting closer to the romantic period, if not somewhat already in there. And so emotions are being placed into the music more by many composers, and I believe that Beethoven uh, wanted to join in on this, and with everything that happened in his life, this has something to do with what's going on in the beginning of the piece. So lastly, there is a listening link that I included in the PowerPoint. If you do not have the PowerPoint, I'll make sure this link is in the description below of the video. I highly recommend listening to it. It's about a half hour long, very beautiful music by Beethoven. And that will do it for this presentation. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of this. And thank you for listening.